The American people deserve answers about this election. Two House Republicans, Jim Jordan and James Comer, have called for a congressional probe of the integrity of the election. Joining me now, ranking member on the House Judiciary Committee and total rock star and wrestling fan, Jim Jordan. Thank you so much for joining me, Congressman.
My pleasure, Benny. Good to be with you.
What a time. It seems like every single day there's a new, nuclear level, radioactive bombshell that drops about this election, really striking at the integrity of the election and most devastating, the integrity of the American people's faith in the electoral process. Can you explain the most recent updates and what's happening now?
Well, that last point you made, Benny, I think is critically important. 74 million Americans vote for President Trump. Approximately 11 million more than voted for him in 2016. Of that 74 million, over 70% think there is a major problem with this election. They think it was stolen. They think it was rigged. When you have a third of the electorate in your country who feel like an election was stolen, that is a major problem. That in and of itself, I mean, we want President Trump to win, but that in and of itself, the fact that a third of the electorate thinks there's a major problem in how our election was run, the integrity of our election, that by itself should be the reason that we do an investigation. That's why Congressman Comer and I called for it a couple of weeks ago, but it's been silence. It's been crickets from Chairman Nadler and Chairwoman Maloney.
Why? So why? Why can the American people not see action with the GOP on this issue? I'm telling you, Congressman, I travel around the country. This is the issue that people are worried about.
I agree. They don't want to dig into it because they know there are so many questions that need answers to. Like, how did the president get 11 million more votes and lose? How did the Republicans win 27 out of 27 toss-up seats? How did we do so well in the Senate when they said we were going to lose the Senate? How do we pick up the state legislative races that we did and win? He maintained all the others. How did the president get more Hispanic Americans, more African Americans? How did he win 19 of the 20 bellwether counties around the country? How did he win Ohio by 8, Florida by 3, and yet not win? I mean, it makes absolutely no sense. Americans instinctively know there was a problem with this election. And as I said, 70% of the 74 million, over 70%, think it was stolen. So let's do everything we can to figure out what happened for the good of the country. And hopefully we find it and President Trump actually would still be president. But we need to do this investigation.
I mean, what country can you have? Can you have a functioning republic if people don't trust the foundation of that republic, the actual fabric that keeps it together, the electoral process? You
think about it. No, it's scary. It's scary. And right now they're still counting votes in New York. They're still counting votes in California. And if we were sending observers to another country, the United States of America, sending observers, the greatest country ever, sending observers to another country to observe their election, and they were still counting votes 4.5 weeks after the election, we would come back and say, there's major problems there. We should cut off any type of foreign aid. We should go talk to the United Nations. What should we do? I mean, that's the reaction we would have. And yet that's exactly what's going on in our country. And it's driven by this crazy push the Democrats have to go to mail-in voting. We have a staff member, Benny, who got her ballot mailed to her apartment and 4 other ballots, 4 other people who lived there previously. Those ballots came to her apartment as well. That is a recipe for disaster. I think the Democrats exploited that. And that's part of the reason that, unfortunately, the numbers don't look good for the president right now. But part of the reason Joe Biden got the numbers he did.
So, Congressman, you are indeed a superstar. You're very humble. You're Midwesterner like myself, so you don't like being called that. But around the country with the base, you are an absolute rock star. People view you as a truth teller, and they see you as someone who will not just toe the party line. You're going to do what's right. In the next 2 years, the most important issue in America for the base is going to be election integrity. It's going to be auditing voter rolls, voter ID, and ensuring that our votes are safe and secure and legal. What are you going to do as one of the loudest, largest, most trustworthy voices in our Congress to ensure that that becomes the issue of the next couple of years?
We have to keep speaking out about the dangers of mail-in voting. That is front and center. They're going to, remember this past Congress, the one we're in right now, the very first bill, House Bill 1, the Democrats introduced, was all about changing the election process, letting 16-year-olds vote, letting felons vote, going more to mail-in voting. And they got a lot of that done in some states, particularly Pennsylvania, some of these key swing states that I think took the election from the president. So we have to continue to focus on that, because if you can't have integrity, in your election process, how do you protect our fundamental liberties? How do we protect your First Amendment rights from the cancel culture mob? How do we protect your Second Amendment liberties when Jerry Nadler and the Democrats on the Judiciary Committee are going to come and try to take away your ability to own a firearm, protect yourself, your family, your property? How do we do all that if you can't have free and fair and accurate and elections with integrity? So we will have to continue to focus on that and highlight how dangerous this sending live ballots out to everyone, this crazy absentee program they did in some states. We'll have to continue to highlight that and make sure they don't advance in that direction any more than they already have and try to scale back what they've already done.
You represent Ohio. What did Ohio do right? Because I'm looking at Ohio and Florida, and okay, 9 o'clock, here's our votes. There we go, the end.
Yeah.
Good night. Good night, everyone. And now you're right. 4 weeks later, some of these other states are still counting. It's banana republic stuff. What did Ohio do right? What did other states like Pennsylvania, Georgia do wrong?
Great question. Limited time for early voting, 30 days prior to it. We're talking about Ohio. Florida is very similar. A real absentee program, a program where you, the voter, Joe Smith, calls the Board of Elections or contacts the Board of Elections. I would like an absentee ballot. They can look at the voter registration list. They can look at the roll. Yes, you are, in fact, Joe Smith. You live at 121 Johnson Street. We know you're a real person who voted in the last election. We know you haven't passed away. You're not a dead person who voted dead, registered while you were dead, and got an absentee ballot while you were dead. You're a real person. Do it that way. And then you count those absentee ballots come in. You actually count them first. So when the polls close at 7 in Ohio, the first votes you report are the absentee ballots that you were able to count during the day. And then you count the others, and shazam, we have a winner in Ohio at a reasonable hour on Tuesday, the first Tuesday after the first Monday in November every 4 years, we know. And it doesn't take till, what are we now? Like I said, 4.5 weeks, and they're still counting ballots in New York State. That's how you do it.
Congressman, we have a contentious election coming up here in Georgia. We have 1 minute left here. What is at stake for a Congress being completely controlled, stem to stern, by Democrats? What's going to happen if we lose these two Senate seats?
Well, the fundamental issue, I think, in front of the country today is Democrats think the country's bad. Republicans think the country's good. Not perfect, but the greatest nation ever, with more liberties, more opportunities, the greatest country ever that's done more good for more people around the planet than any other nation in history. That's the fundamental distinction. And if the party that thinks the country is bad has complete control of the government, they're going to do bad things. And the biggest bad thing they're going to do is take away your freedom. They're going to come after it. And they've already started to do this. So that's what's really at stake. And we just got to present that message in a clear way. The president, I think, will do that this Saturday when he's in Georgia, talking about the importance of making sure David Perdue, not Sonny Perdue, he's the agriculture secretary. David Perdue and Kelly Loeffler are reelected to the United States Senate.
Everyone watched you in the impeachment hearings. Yes or no question, Congressman. Did you actually make Adam Schiff cry?
I don't think so. No, I did not. But I think in some ways he drove the country crazy, particularly when remember the line, Benny, when he told us that he didn't know who the anonymous whistleblower was, even though the anonymous whistleblower met with his staff. I mean, there's not a person on the planet who believes that statement was true. But the good news is we were able to keep him from removing the president from office. We need to make sure we figure out this election so the Democrats don't remove the president from office again here in the next few weeks.
Thank you, Congressman. You're a fighter.
You bet.
Proud to have you on our team.
You too.